All right, today we are diving into a skill that, let's be honest, almost everyone thinks they're great at, but very, very few have actually mastered, and that's listening. We're going to break down the 4 levels of listening, a framework that could literally change every single conversation you have from here on out.
So, let me just ask you straight up. Are you really a good listener? I mean, most of us would probably say, yeah, of course. But what if I told you that our brains, they aren't even wired for listening?
Okay, so let's unpack this idea because it's a big one. The whole concept here is that our default setting isn't to listen openly. Nope, it's to judge. We are constantly, automatically, sizing things up. This is right, that's wrong. I like this, I don't like that. That's our brain's natural starting point.
And this is the critical part. It's like a chain reaction. Those judgments, they're just thoughts. But those thoughts completely color how you see everything. That's your perception. And your perception, well, that becomes your reality. So if you're ever in a situation and you don't like the reality you're in, the only place to change it is right at the source, your own thoughts.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with what's called the listening illusion. Then we'll meet the little voices in our heads that get in the way. We're going to map out the 4 levels, break down that journey, learn how to actually practice this stuff, and finally, get to the really good part, the ultimate reward.
So the whole idea of the listening illusion is that most of the time, we're not actually listening to the other person. We think we are, but really, we're just listening to our own opinions. We're listening for the things that confirm what we already believe. We're basically trapped inside an echo chamber of our own thoughts.
So what is it that keeps us trapped in that echo chamber? Well, it comes down to 3 specific voices that are always chattering away in our heads whenever someone else is talking. Let's meet these 3 little obstacles to true listening.
And here they are. You've got the voice of judgment, the voice of cynicism, and the voice of fear. Just being able to spot these in your own mind, well, that's the first huge step to becoming a phenomenal listener.
First up, the voice of judgment. You know this one. The second someone opens their mouth, this voice is already labeling. It's deciding if their idea is brilliant or ridiculous, if they're right or if they're wrong. It slams the door on our open-mindedness before we've even heard the whole story.
Then you've got the voice of cynicism. This is the voice that just shuts down all possibility. It's the one whispering, oh, we've tried that before, it'll never work. Or, this person is never going to change. You know, it feels like it's protecting us from getting our hopes up, but really it just keeps us stuck right where we are.
And last but not least, the voice of fear. This is the one that stops us from really engaging. It's always worried, what if they think my question is stupid? Or what if I say the wrong thing and look bad? It's all about self-preservation, right? Which makes any kind of real, genuine connection pretty much impossible.
Okay, so if we're all wrestling with these internal voices, how in the world do we actually listen? Well, this is where the map comes in. The 4 levels of listening give us a clear path, a way to move from that closed-off state of judgment to a place of real connection.
So the journey looks like this. It moves through 4 very distinct stages. We started downloading, then we can move up to factual listening, then empathetic listening, and finally the real prize, generative listening. And each step up requires a little more presence, a little more openness.
All right, let's really get into the nuts and bolts of this. We're going to look at what each level feels like, what it takes to get there, and what the actual result is.
I love this slide because it lays out the entire playbook. See, level 1, downloading, that's our default mode. We're just looking for things that confirm what we already think. To get to level 2, factual listening, you need an open mind. You have to be genuinely curious. And when you are, you start discovering new data, new facts. Then, to get to level 3, empathetic listening, it's not about an open mind, it's about an open heart. You need compassion. That's how you make an emotional connection. And finally, level 4, generative listening, this one takes an open will. It takes courage. The courage to let go of what you think should happen and create something new together. That's where brand new possibilities are born.
So here's the real test. How do you know if you've actually moved beyond that default level 1? Well, there's only one piece of proof. Did you learn something new? Did you hear something that actually challenged or contradicted what you thought before the conversation started? If the answer is no, then you weren't really listening. You were just downloading.
Okay, so this all sounds great, but how do we actually do it? You know, in a real conversation, when things are moving fast, how do we climb up these levels? Let's talk about the practical side of this.
The whole practice starts with a really simple, clear intention. When you go into a conversation to practice this, you have one job and one job only, to listen. That's it. You're not there to fix their problem,
You're not there to win an argument. You're not trying to sell them anything. Your only goal is to truly, deeply hear what they're saying.
And here is the core technique. It's called suspension. So when you hear that voice of judgment or that voice of fear pipe up in your head, you don't fight it, you don't argue with it, you just notice it. You say, ah, there's my judgment voice, and then you just gently set it aside without any drama and bring your focus right back to the other person.
So as you're practicing, just remember your toolkit. You need to activate your curiosity to get to level 2. You need to tap into your compassion to reach level 3. And you need to find your courage to unlock level 4. These are the mindsets you have to consciously bring into the conversation.
So, where does all this hard work lead? What's the big reward for doing all of this? Well, when you practice this kind of listening consistently, something pretty magical happens. You discover the power of stillness.
Just picture this. You ask someone a really good question, and then you just listen. You quiet your own inner voices. The other person is thinking, and in that moment, there's this shared space of stillness that opens up between you. It's not an awkward silence. It's a creative silence. It's the space where real insight happens for them and for you.
And this right here, this is the real payoff. When you can create and hold that space for someone, you build this incredible deep trust. In a world where everyone is just waiting for their turn to talk, you become completely different. You create a space where a future that literally did not exist a few minutes ago can suddenly come into being.
So, I'll just leave you with this question to carry with you. In your very next conversation, doesn't matter if it's with your boss, your partner, your kid, if you can truly listen past your own judgments, past your own fears, what new possibility is just sitting there, waiting to emerge?